Welcome to the Parentreneur Podcast. I'm your host, Jake Haynes. In the last episode, we talked a little bit about how I took my business from the original idea and kept iterating until it eventually took off. But I thought it would be good to just take a moment and to explain how can you, as an aspiring parent entrepreneur with limited time and resources, be able to do the same. To say, I have an idea, I want to get it up off the ground. It is really daunting. Well, I want to explain what are some fundamentals that I've always found in validating other ideas and getting companies off the ground, including my own profitable company. I'm creating this channel because there's just a gap in the community for aspiring parent entrepreneurs and current parent entrepreneurs. It's just a different kind of landscape when you're a parent dealing with risk and the time constraints associated with parenthood and entrepreneurship. So if this is something that seems to be something you're interested in, please subscribe and let me know in the comment section below what more and what type of content you would like to see in the future. Again, my background has been in growing companies and startups, and I recently started my own company last year that's profitable, as well as helped a few other businesses get off the ground from idea stage into profitability. So let's talk about some of the fundamentals that I find to get ideas off the ground quickly. It seems really daunting when you're getting into it, trying to validate a business idea. It's disorienting. You're not sure what's good feedback, what's bad feedback, who should you sell to and who should you not. But there's some key fundamentals I found across industries, whether you're starting a service or launching a physical product or a software, that will kind of guide you through this process that you can take stage by stage. The first and probably biggest tip I can give for anyone out there is ideas are cheap, but solve a real problem with your product or service. So again, whether or not you're creating a product or you're offering a service, people are still hiring you or hiring your product to do something specifically. If you could find a real problem where people have the most money, that's really where the sweet spot is. It sounds really simplistic and obvious, but you would not believe how many startups get funded and started based off of a weak problem that doesn't exist. And everybody has ideas. I'm sure we all have those cousins or family members who are like, I have this idea for, this, it's like Chick-fil-A, but for burritos. And it's, and maybe that would work, but maybe it won't. But what makes the difference between a really good idea and a really, bad idea or a mediocre one is it solves a real tangible problem for somebody. The best way that you can validate, am I on the right track for offering a real solution to a real problem, is evaluate two things. One, have you done this service or offered this product in another industry or for another company? And maybe you're going out on your own. Like maybe you're a welder and you know how to build staircases, metal staircases, but you did it for another company. Now you're going out on your own. That one is more obvious, right? But it's something that even if you have more soft skills that you can repackage and think through, well, what do I like doing? What am I good at? And what have I been doing that people have paid for that I could repackage now on my own and do the same? So that's marketing or graphic design. Like for example, maybe you were a graphic design over the past few years. Now you want to go out on your own. Well, maybe you could do graphic design for a specific industry or specific niche, or do a specific thing. Maybe you've done PowerPoint presentations or logos for plumbing companies over and over again. Well, that would be a really good thing to kind of double down into focusing on a niche. We'll get into niching later, but that's another way to validate, yes, I'm in the right path because I've done this before. The second one would be if you're offering a product or service and creating it and trying to validate whether or not it's actually a real solution, is by evaluating, am I scratching my own itch? Meaning, am I creating a solution that I would pay for, that I intimately want to see? Once you feel like you have a real problem and a potential real solution, the second next step, and probably the most important step after this, is to just talk to your ICP. ICP means ideal client profile. So if you solve a specific problem for somebody, you want to see and talk to as many people who potentially have that problem, because they'll either become a customer or they'll give you validating feedback, or they will give you feedback that'll tell you that maybe I should iterate this idea to something else. Now, the way that I've done this for my business and a few other businesses is there's 6 questions that I ask. I'll reach out to people on LinkedIn and offer to do a paid consultation. I say, hey, it's only 15 minutes. You can either fill it out online via email, or we could do a quick 15-minute conversation. And it's only 6 or 7 questions. They're all created in a way that gives me an important nugget of information of either validating the idea and giving me better market feedback to become a one-of-one solution, a unique solution to solve their specific problems, or it gives me feedback to go, okay, we don't really have anything there. The awesome thing about that is not only is it good for validation, it's good for marketing, it's good for sales, but also if you have a real problem and you talk about the solution after you validated that they have a real problem, then they could become your first few customers if you run enough of these. However, I will say, asterisk, if you're running these interviews, start off with it being product agnostic or solution agnostic, meaning you just want to talk to them about their problems in an open-ended way to where they don't have enough context to know what you could be selling or the solution that you might be offering through a service or product. So keep it vague. Just say, I'm looking at people who have, this particular problem within this industry for this role, whatever, and just keep it at that. So the 6 questions are pretty simple. It's, hey, what are your top 3 challenges around X, Y, and Z? How does that affect you as a such and such person? Naming the ICP, business owner or whatever, or plumbing company owner. What is it that you're using to solve for that thing now, that problem? I want to know the competitive landscape. What would you do to solve it if it were up to you? And what do you wish was out there in the market to kind of help you with this? So what do we understand from these questions? The first one is understanding their challenges in an open-ended way away from our product or solution, right? Because the reason being is you want to better understand and have them articulate their problems. And if you're on the right path for the problem that you're solving, the solution you're building, then they should go ahead and name those problems in the challenges section. So that could be, you of course want to keep it open-ended, but pointed in the right direction. So if you could say, in the plumbing example of graphic designer, hey, what's the most challenging thing in using a graphic designer for your plumbing company? Right? It's vague enough, but at least points them in the right direction, but it's agnostic from the solution of what you're potentially offering. And then I want to say, what graphic design services have you used in the past for your plumbing company? Again, actually the second question is, how does that affect you as a ICP, as a business owner of a plumbing company? Because then I want them to articulate how it affects them, so that if I built a landing page in marketing and sales, I can say, hey, I know as a business owner and as a plumbing business owner that you have problems with graphic designers and you're probably doing this or hiring this service to solve for it. That's all really good information that validates my idea, helps me articulate the problem I'm solving, and helps me build the first sales and marketing function even before I've really launched my business. And then the last few questions are having them come back to you and articulate how would they want it to be solved. Maybe you'll get a few tidbits of information or a feature that you never thought about, or an integration that would need to happen with your software. That open-ended allows you to get some feedback and potentially see some trends of feedback that I can use to build my product or service that I wasn't thinking through, or it validates it and they say exactly what you're offering. So that's all really, really important information. And if you get stuck here for a long time, that's actually okay. Because again, if we do this well, and then at the end of it, they are a good fit and they like you, at the end, you can say, hey, I know, this isn't for sales. I'm just really getting your feedback, but can I tell you a little bit more about what I'm doing? If they say yes, and they're a good fit, then you can go, hey, I'm actually building this service or this product to solve X, Y, and Z problem. Is this something you'd be interested in? It's a really easy, no pressure sale that you validated that they have pain beforehand, and then it naturally leads into the next conversation. So with that being said, if you get stuck here because you're an aspiring parent entrepreneur, has limited time and resources, if you get stuck here on this problem, that's okay. I would continue to be here for months or years if you need to keep refining your product and your idea, because you'll either get enough feedback to get clients, enough feedback to iterate, and or to be able to begin to build your marketing and sales and landing page. So this is the best place that you can land for a long time. And you might even find that this is the best type of outreach you can do that's like low pressure risk to gain clients in the future. So you started off with a real problem. You've talked to enough people to either iterate your idea or to, have an idea whether or not this thing has legs, and maybe even get your first few clients. If not, then the third step is really to iterate. Again, your idea is never going to really be exactly how you thought from the very beginning, and that's okay. Because here's the thing. Talk is cheap, money speaks, meaning everyone's going to tell you that you have a really good idea. But until they hand you money, it doesn't matter. So until you have either clients or someone paying for the service, I'd continue iterating until you get those first few clients. Don't hold on to your idea so hard that you suffocate it. I've seen this. I've worked for someone who is, I'll try to be respectful here, but who is very, very much so like that. They actually had a really good idea and a profitable company, but instead of leaning into what they did and focusing on actual client demand and feedback and improving the things that the customers didn't like, that person then just focused on trying to out-innovate the technology, out-innovate how people interact with it, but they really weren't offering real value. They're out-innovating the actual demand of the company. So as you iterate, be okay with letting the number one, the first thing we talked about, starting with the real problem, be the North Star that keeps you on the right track. Because if you start with a problem, you will be a little bit agnostic of the solution, and you'll hold your hand open that as you get feedback from those product interviews and from people either saying they want your service or not, it'll help you iterate the product to get even closer to solving that North Star, to solving that problem that you started off with. And again, I want to iterate within the iteration process. Follow where the money is. People will tell you have an amazing app idea, and then they're not going to pay for it. It's just the reality. So that's why it's the most important to try to get the validation through purchases. And validation does not count on someone saying, yeah, it's a really cool idea. Validation and iteration matter most when they are handing you money. So when we talk about iterate, follow the money. Iterate to where the money is. Because, someone might tell you within this iteration process when you have these conversations, hey, this is a really good idea. Could you do this instead? Or, I don't have this problem, but this person does. Those are going to be the key things that people say that'll give you a better idea of, oh, hey, there might be something here. And either me iterating my service to better suit their needs of what they're requesting, or to better suit the service or product that I have in another industry. So again, start with a problem, talk to enough people to either sell the solution or product, or to be able to iterate it. And then 4 is really important. You need to give it enough time or enough volume. What do I mean by that? Well, I think 90% of ideas could eventually make it, believe it or not. Even if it was like Chick-fil-A with burritos, I think you could eventually make that thing work. Why? Because after enough time and enough volume, if again, you're following what I'm mentioning here about iterating and allowing the customers to lead where the product or service should go, enough time and enough volume will eventually cause you to see some trends. You'll eventually see trends of, oh, people keep saying this, or people keep, buying, but in this industry instead of the industry that I was going after. Those are the things you're looking for. You're looking for the trends. You're looking for the green lights, the things that might be moving in the direction that you thought at scale, essentially. So that's why I mentioned that this is a really important point for aspiring parent entrepreneurs, because you have limited resources. You might be working full-time, picking up the kids. You have limited time, limited money. But if you can really focus on just giving it a few hours a week to keep moving this forward, to have these product interviews, to be doing market research, to be talking to people, to be iterating your product, then that's really where the sweet spot is going to be. And again, that's why I'm saying don't beat yourself up on that. If you're stuck for a year or two at the talking to people to iterate your product and to validate it, that's okay. That's actually a really good spot to land for a long time, because again, enough volume and enough time and enough conversations will eventually show you some trends that where you need to head your product or change the pricing or, move to a different industry after a certain point. How long is enough time? I mean, if you're offering something that you're not well versed in already, like a service that you've already offered to other people in the past, then it might take more time. When I've done this for other companies to validate a startup idea, usually within 15 to 20 conversations or less, actually more like 10 to 15 conversations, you will begin to see trends. If you're talking to the same type of person, they will eventually be saying the same thing. 75% of them will say the same thing over and over again, that they have the same problem around a specific topic. So you should quickly, within a few months, begin to see some trends. Then you double down into that area of those trends. Then you continue to refine and have more conversations. And then say the things that they're saying to you that you heard from other people in the industry back to them, and keep doing that over and over and over. And eventually you will be able to sit down with someone within a specific industry, within a specific role, if you're offering a service especially, and say, hey, what I've heard from other leaders in your seat is that they have this problem within this industry, and this is how it manifests and affects them, because all those questions cover that. And they'll say, that's exactly it. And then that's when you know you have something. And then that's where you can build a solution off of something that solves that real problem. Again, this whole process about validating a business idea, it is truly all about, measuring twice, cut once. If you get stuck on the validation and iteration of your product and an idea and marketing and who you service, that's the best spot to be, because if you focus on spending most of your time there, when you do launch, it won't be to crickets. That's why most businesses do fail, most startups do fail, is because there's too many unchallenged assumptions. But if you have enough conversations, you talk to enough people, you iterate your product, and if it's a good fit, you have the conversation and tell them what you're offering and see if they're interested, they're going to hand you money. If they have a real problem and you can solve for it and you've articulated that, I promise you they're going to pay you for it. And after a certain point, a certain bit of iteration, you're finally going to hit on something that's going to pull you out of the dip and allow you to actually begin to see compounding growth. The last point, once you've gotten through that process, is this. How do you take an idea, validate it, and then grow it to where it's huge? The next step, once you've given enough time, you've iterated, you begin to have some success, is to niche down. Because once you find that market, once you find that industry or that service or that thing where you begin to see the trend of, oh, we have something here, you put all your chips into that one area. The worst thing you can be is be everything for everybody, because then you become nothing for no one. And that's really the focus, is there's riches and niches. You want to own the market. You want to be one of one. You know what the crazy thing is? You don't have to offer anything completely different from the next guy. If you're a graphic designer, you can just say, I'm a graphic designer who services plumbing companies, who does logos for plumbing companies. You know how many of those there are? Probably not many. And just like I'm living, breathing example, the software agency industry is super oversaturated. And that was actually an opportunity for us, because we began to see that people didn't like working with software agencies. It was super low trust, understandably so, because people would get screwed over. And so we reversed engineered our business model to address the concerns through the guarantees that we offer about the service that we offer or products that we offer. There's guarantees that reverse engineer from the complaints that other people have in working with other companies. So that's the first way that we distinguish ourselves in kind of our own niche. The way that we offer the solution is completely different from everybody else, even though it's a very saturated industry. The second thing is we continue to niche down. And this is where we are now, is in the niching phase. We found, we're profitable, we're doing good work, people are happy, but we don't want to be a general software development company. We want to do one specific thing for one specific person. And we're beginning to head in that direction. Why? Because again, we want to own the market. That's what the important is of there's riches in niches. When you own the market, you become one of one. Even if your solution or your service isn't necessarily entirely unique, like software development, when you own the market for that specific area or industry, it makes everything easier. How does it make everything easier? Well, it makes your marketing easier. It makes your sales easier. It helps people refer you because you become saturated within one industry where everybody knows your name. And if they ever have that problem, they know exactly who they need to call. As well as, again, when you're able to own the market, instead of saying we're a custom software development company for anybody, it's we build this one thing for this one person in this one industry. So that when you target that person, whether it be in marketing or direct outreach and sales, you can articulate through the interview questions that you have, the problems that they have, what you solve for, and how do you do it. And guess what? You're one of one, even if your service is oversaturated. So again, to summarize, because I understand that starting a business as a parent is so hard, because getting this thing off the ground and having enough time to do product interviews and to iterate and to give it enough time and focus and attention is really difficult. But again, to summarize, it's really 5 or 6 focuses. 1, start off with a real problem that either you want to solve yourself or that you solved for other people in the past that you know is a real problem. 2, talk to other people who experience that problem and just continue to get that unbiased feedback of the problems they have, what they're doing to solve for it. And then that allows you to 3, iterate the product to continue to service, where we get to number 5. When we iterate down to solve a specific problem for a specific person in a specific niche. You can go mass market later on and add on different niches, but right now we want to solve one thing for one person. So we want to continue to iterate. And then once we have given it enough time and enough volume through the conversations that we have, you will for sure find your first few clients, be able to iterate your product, and begin to see the bits of trend in the right direction of where your business should go and how you should iterate your offering, service, product, or at least what you should say to that person. Again, this is Jake with the Parentreneur Podcast. I'd love to know your questions in the comment section below. If you have any bottlenecks or problems in validating it, leave it in the comment section below and I'll answer it personally. Thanks so much for watching.